Just a little bit, not really.
I'll shut the door.
And all right, that's there. Let's go to the live page. Yep, I got it. We're live. Copy.
We are up.
Hey, anybody? He's
Up
have
and
an
at 'em.
echo? Yeah, have what do you
Oh,
call
let
it?
me turn on that.
You talk, so they'll know if you're echoing.
Okay, so I was echoing last week and it was terrible. So I left. Do I have an echo? Listeners, commenters. There's only two right now, but
hmm
I want to know,
Do we have an
is
echo? No
the
echo.
sound
Echo.
good?
Echo. Echo. Is there an echo or no? Echo.
5 people.
Yeah. It sounds
Dun,
good.
dun, dun,
But
dun,
yeah,
dun.
I ended up. I'll just talk anyway. They'll tell us if there's an
No
echo.
echo.
But
There
yeah.
we go.
Oh,
HK
okay.
Marksman.
I gotta bring this up so I
Is
can
that
see.
HK guy?
Yeah. He's there. All
Or is
kinds of
that a
people.
different? That's HK Marksman, but is he
Yeah.
a
Oh, that's
HK
the same
guy
guy.
that
Yeah.
renamed it? Or
Probably. Yeah. So today, anyway, I ended up going early because that letter I told you I had that FedEx in Wheat Ridge.
hmm
It was the title to my car, so I had to go to Wheat Ridge early, and then I got to the dealer just a little bit early, and he was with like a couple was there, and he was helping the couple, and I was like, dude, I'm in no hurry, don't worry about it. And so, um, I just sat around a little bit and was waiting, and then when it was over, and I kind of did all the paperwork, they had the guy there to set up the computers and everything and the phones and all that. And previously, I had never got set up through them, like with the apps and this. I had it all, but I never had them make sure it was all talking correctly. And so I stuck around for like an extra hour, and the guy walked me through everything, all the changes. So then by the time I got back, my phone didn't stop. And even like Laura just went next door to bring the butter and stuff from last night. Oh, my mic a bit? Okay.
hang on.
Yeah, there we go. My mic's up. And so there my mic's turned up a bit. And so yeah, so then
This is
I
epic. I don't know if you can hear me,
I can hear you. Who?
but I
Oh,
keep
I didn't add you up. Hang on, you're there. Sorry. I
using
don't Now you're echoing.
Bluetooth.
What happened? Yeah, you should be good. What are you messing with? You got to talk, Chris. I think I think you just knocked yourself off. Are you talking? Chris, can you hear me? Yeah, but he's not talking. He's not responding. Oh, he knocked off. Yeah, sorry guys. He changed some. He was just good a second ago. There you go. You there? You're good. You can't hear me? You were just working and everybody said you were good. Now you're
Can
good.
hear.
I can hear you. We can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you. Hang on. I'll text him. Yeah, I don't know. He was just 100%. He sounded good, and then he started hitting buttons, I think. And I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah, you were fine, dude. I don't know what you were doing. Everybody's like, yeah, we hear you fine. You were fine. You just weren't
No, no.
speaking.
The laptop lost Bluetooth. It like as a device, it was just gone,
Oh, but
and
all
so
right.
I lost connection. And I was
Okay.
like,
Yeah, everybody's
"That's
good.
happened twice." Okay.
That's weird.
Ah!
All right. So yeah, so anyway, I was so busy and then I stayed an extra hour for the guy to set me up. And by the time I got home, I came right home. I parked the car. I moved a bunch of the mats around cuz they pulled my good mats instead of the cloth ones cuz I had the aftermarkets. And Um, so I stayed late, and then as soon as I got home, my phone just rang. Jacob called. He was getting there's like a ton of people coming to the cup, and it's like blowing up huge. And from the podcast yesterday with Jacob, and so
That's
yeah,
awesome.
my phone just never stopped. And like at 5 o'clock, just before this, I walked up here. I sat down for 2 minutes just to chill because it was like pounding on my head. I was like, "What the heck?" So yeah, everything's
Yeah.
good now. So we're there. So say hi to everybody and repeat and
Hi, everybody. I have had a Bluetooth thing, but here I am.
we're good. We're good. We're good. But
So
so
let's
yeah,
see. We went out to the range last week, and then it's been fucking crazy. Like I would have expected to go back out, but you guys are going to to a class, and then we have another class here next week. And this weekend on Saturday, I have a wind clinic out at Fort Morgan. But we went
and
out and shot the 25 Creedmoor, and it was awesome. I mean, it was a brand new barreled action, and we did everything from scratch. So we're breaking it in, but you know, by the time it got zeroed and trued, it was shooting factory ammo, one bullet right on top of the other.
yeah, it took a second. At first I was like, oh my god, because the groups at first you were shooting, like I was watching you shoot the groups at 100. Um, and they were, over an inch, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" But then as you go around the circle, so Chris, basically, if you look at your board, Chris has an open center, and then he has his groups around the edge. So he shoots at he uses markers a lot, a central aiming point, and once he finds it right there, then he gets it close, and then he starts grouping around. And yeah, at beginning it was like, man, these groups aren't that good. And then by the end, they were 3/8, below half minute for sure for the 25 Creed.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I saw the same thing. The bore sight was like, holy crap, that's close. And then it started kind of coming together, but it went from inch and a half to an inch to three quarters of an inch, and it was like shit. But it's the first 20 rounds through the barrel, but after 20, 25, by the time we were at 30, it was very repeatable and very um, precise. And I've never shot a 25 Creedmoor. I don't know how long it takes to foul up and kind of get its shit together, but it did. And then it
Yeah.
was very consistent. And we shot Gravity Ballistics. We shot two groups that were great. And we did 3, 5 Gravity Ballistics. Then we shot a group that was still perfect. And then we did unknown distances to test the Gravity Ballistics at off yardage. And we just nailed the water line. So I think, it was
Yeah.
pretty shit
Well,
hot.
it is shit hot. It's in the butter zone because it's a 134 at, I guess it's, but we never, and here's the thing, guys, we never chronographed it. And so we don't really know the number. We know our dope, and we put all that into Gravity Ballistics that way. As far as your drop at distance, but we didn't chronograph it. I just know from seeing other people's numbers that the 134 is running about 2850. And that
Mhm.
2850 is the butter zone. When you get your bullet weight to be at 2850, odds are it's Rockstar.
Yeah. HK guy, you said arguing about fouling and stuff like that. So I think if I was gonna say here are those topics that you're mentioning, I'm gonna say what we're talking about is even separate from that. This is a barrel that's never been fired. So fouling after somebody cleans it is one thing, but a polished steel barrel from a lathe is a little bit different because there's nothing in it. And the lands, I've never had anything rub against them, and we have a break on there. And I mean, everything was unfired. So it's going to take a little bit to polish down some of the uneven parts and get a little copper and get a little carbon to kind of start to polish it. But with nothing in there, I do think that you're not going to take a virgin barrel and on that first shot, it's going to be where it's always going to be. Um, if I've got a barrel with 1,000 rounds and I clean the heck out of it, if it's dirty and I really clean it till it's as clean as possible, it's going to be different for that, for like 2 or 3 shots. And I've tested a lot of rifles. I have footage and I have some videos on here. I cleaned the shit out of it. They're not crazy off. I mean, we're not talking about inches, but it could be off from the typical group a little bit.
Yeah.
And when you chronograph it, you'll notice that there's a speed difference on that first or second, first and second, first, second, third. It doesn't take a long time for it to go back to where it was. Um, but there's more room and there's probably stuff in there from cleaning that is
Yeah.
dried that's
Solvent.
still in there. You can smell something when you clean a barrel and take that shot, and you can't really get it all out. So I think you want to know the characteristics of your barrel after you've cleaned, to how many shots is it till it gets back to normal. Then the cold bore is, I just grab it out of my truck and I take a shot. That should be fine. If you didn't just clean it and you didn't just take something apart, if it is the way it is and it's zeroed, it is gonna shoot the way that it shot before you put it in the truck the day before. And if it isn't, I think a lot of people say cold shooter. Um, I bet there's a rifle out there in existence that is a little bit different,
Yeah.
but I think that for the
I.
most part, if you have a good ready to go barrel, I could grab these rifles. I'm going to go to the range. It's going to be zeroed and it's going to work. And
Mhm.
the first shot's not any different than the last shot. And I think that you've mentioned this. I think that Jacob's mentioned this. Ryan Collector, everybody that's experienced has mentioned this. If you spend a few minutes dry firing before you take your first shot, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
There
And
won't
I
be a cold bore, you
and
know.
I have my thoughts on the fouling. So to get where my head is with it. So like Chris said with the 25 Creedmoor, it was never shot. And so I even opened up the ammo on camera to say, like, look, we're doing this with no chronograph, just zeroing it, and then we were going into gravity ballistics with it. But as far as fouling and looking at the barrels and things, and Chris is right, over the years with rifles only, we did a gazillion tests of cold mine, cold shooter, cold body, cold mine, cold bore fouling, and I can go into all the cold bores and how I look at it, but rifle barrel wise, and they're all going to be slightly different, as far as round count number, but I will generally just play with a barrel for the first 200 rounds. I'm just kind of getting to learn it, getting to know it, not putting a lot of faith in it yet. I want 200 rounds through it. Once I get that case shot 200 rounds, it's cleaned, and it's just a normal cleaning for me. I don't do heavy cleanings. I don't do cycle cleanings. I'm a very efficient, fast cleaner when I do it. And from there, now I'm going to chronograph. Now I'm going to look at my numbers. Now I'm going to make sure the gravity ballistics and all my data is correct. And then I move on down the road with it. Like Chris was saying, if your barrel has a cold bore shift when it's fouled, that's an unnatural state. And that's a couple things it could be. It could be you, which he said, cold shooter, cold mine. But depending on how it does, in most barrels where it's the barrel and not the shooter, they walk more than they jump. So it's not like one's here in a great group. It's one's here, one's a little closer, then it settles in. That's usually a stress on a barrel. You'll find it in a lot of the button cut barrels, and the hammers aren't as bad, but a rifle cut won't do it, but a button cut will. Button cuts are very sensitive. And so that could be a problem. Torque and threading could be the problem. And then the last thing to look at if you have a weird shift like that, is the action screws. We've seen it with action screws as well. But I want 200 rounds through it. Then I'm gonna start treating it like a working gun now, and get to my place like that. But they're in, like, 308s don't tend to have the speed ups like a 6 mil might. So all the different calibers, you might see that 25, 50 feet per second. I have a big gun here that Chris Roberts shot. It sped up 120 feet on him. And so I had 40 rounds through it. He was going to shoot the Night Force ELR. He only had a 6.5 Creedmoor, and this was a 300 PRC. I said, Chris, why don't you use my 300 PRC? I'll leave it for you. He took it with 40 rounds through it, and by the second day of the match, it sped up to 120 feet per second. So that could happen. And that's why there's a whole bunch of people talking, and I'm not following you yet, guys. But yeah, so definitely there's a cold body, cold mind. There's a stressed barrel, and then there's a mechanical problem, is generally how it works. Most likely mechanical problems string more than jump. All right, I hear you're drawing over there. And I'm gonna read some of our comments because there's a lot of them. So you could talk, Chris, and I'll read comments really quick.
Okay, so what Frank mentioned here that we've talked about before, but I just put here as a note, this barrel torque and temperature test, I think that there's something to
Mhm.
that for people that take their barrels on and off, like or like have an action like an AI
Yeah,
or
or a terminus. We're always shooting
a
terminus.
terminus, right? And here's why I think it's significant. Some of the people that have those hand tighten it, put the torque screw on, and go. Awesome. It works good. But if it's hand tight and the temperature changes something on those threads, we're talking about a very subtle shift. If we're talking about a point of impact shift inside of an inch, that's so negligible. But I do think that you could potentially see it. I don't know. I think that when I hear people say, "Oh, it's this, it's this, it's this," most of the time you get that sense of, "Yeah, all right." But at the instant Frank said that, I was like, "Holy shit! I bet we could find a torque value after which we don't see a shift, but below which we could." And it could have something to do with the pitch of the threads too. So if the thread pitch is steeper or fatter, you could, and it would be interesting to test. We just cool it off, heat it up at that foot pounds, and just see, does the temperature change the point of impact? If that's the case, you just make sure it's past that temperature or foot pound thing, and you're good to go. The 22 LR people, because you can't or you couldn't. I've heard of people hand loading 22s now, which sounds fucking crazy. I don't know if you drip in the
They
freaking
have
primer
the
or,
cutting edge has a solid. There's a cutting edge solid for 22s.
but the brass, like there's no primer, so you got to put in that shit and like blow yourself up. I don't know.
I
Anyway,
don't know.
but 22 people, when it was like, oh, I got to tune a load, I heard a lot of talk in the past about tuning the foot pounds of the action screws. Like, oh, I got to have my front action screw at this and my rear action screw at this, and then my groups tighten up. And that sounded pretty sketch to me. But if you kept it there and it didn't change, you know, why not influence the action? Who knows? I didn't do that,
Well,
but
and
I do. Yeah,
go
it
ahead.
does affect the groups.
Right, right.
So, yeah, if they're not tight or not for the same reason as the barrel, if they're loose enough where temperature affects the torque on the action and the chassis, of course you're going to see a shift because that's going to change where all of that stuff is actually pointed. So it's going to be the relationship of the screw, the action, and whatever it's screwed into. If that thing that it's screwed into is really temperature sensitive, you're going to want to know where that and what value it needs to be torqued to so you don't see a temperature. But those two things, I would believe that we can find values where temperature affects it.
Yeah, but the thing, and if you think temperature, like everybody was always like the barrel heats up. Now a stress barrel for sure, but like there was the mindset where a cold bore, it's like, well, my first shot's here, my second shot's here. Well, if you shoot a barrel, it continues to get hot. Well, that should mean your next heat cycle, wherever temp you jump from here to here, move something, well, then it has a potential to move to the next place. And so heat,
Mhm.
that's stress in the barrel. You know what I mean? That's where you want, that's where the people used to cryo, stress free. And where you see that show up huge is in button cuts. You can't mess with a button cut because a button cut is pulling the metal through the barrel, and a rifle cut is scraping each land and groove out. Where a button is like, I got like a hot barrel and I'm pulling a button through with blades on it that's pushing material. It's the same thing. There was a lot of guys, like, comp guys, they're chasing accuracy to the nth degree. Even the with the barrel stuff, and it's a kind of a weird place to go with it, but the suppressors and the threads, right? People didn't want 5/8 24 for a while. They wanted 3/4 because they felt the making that um cut. Holy cow, man. Like
Yeah.
I told my daughter, so I said to my daughter, I said, "Don't call me on podcasting tonight." And she just fucking called. She's been calling me every hour. And she just called, and I told her, I said, "Don't call me, I'm podcasting." And anyway,
Is
so
she
anyway,
is she freaking about Aussie?
no,
Oh,
it's a different drama.
oh,
It's every
gotcha.
day's
Okay.
drama. And so,
Dude, don't even get me
holy
started on
fuck.
daughter drama.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Oh my God.
yours is, but
Okay, so
wait a minute. So
I
you
think
talk, I'm
that
gonna
nowadays CNC machines, if you get an old rifle, there's things that probably occur that are less relevant because they're really old. But nowadays, everything's made on CNC machines, and the consistency is really good. You know, I think that I'm going to make a plug for something that I get absolutely nothing for, but Wade Studeville he chambers barrels and he uses Bartling barrels. And whatever the combination of what Bartland does and what Wade Studeville does, you are never going to see a freaking issue with the barrel.
no.
So, however Bartland's cutting their barrels now and however he's chambering barrels, if people are doing that, I wouldn't worry about any of that stuff. And my guess is everybody's doing the exact same thing.
Right, and that's it. The rifle cuts, the Bartlands, and then these guys now they use CNC machines. So the CNC, like when I went to AI in New York, AI's barrel company in New York, where they spin up all the AI barrels up there, they had to slow the machine down to 25% so I could like see it do its functions. So they're polishing and doing everything in these CNCs now. And, AI's using Bartland barrels, and it's the CNCs today. Like, I can give you a great example. I went to that Robert Gradis gunsmithing class in Georgia before Robert Gradis passed away. And
The
he
pistol one?
no, built a rifle. I built my
Oh,
bolt action, and you did your own barrel. He actually had 2 barrels there expecting you to mess one up. And
hmm
but you did it on a lathe. Now, I know nothing about machining. If you said to me, "Frank, there's a lathe, turn it on and do something," I don't even know where the on is unless it's like neon right in front of me. I couldn't set that machine up and do anything with it. But like he had a digital readout at the top, and I'm going by sound. So he cuts the relief cut in there, and as soon as it goes clean and the sound changes, I'm lifting. Well, that barrel that I did, and I don't know the speed, I don't know the function, I just went by the sound. And at one point, he showed me 3 times I stopped at the exact same decimal place. And I was like 4 decimals out where I was stopping, and it was identical because I was doing it off of a sound. But that barrel fouled so bad. It was the worst barrel I ever owned as far as fouling. It shot great. there was no problem. But him and I sat there for like half a day shooting and cleaning and shooting and cleaning and shooting and cleaning and shooting and cleaning. I chambered that barrel and I don't know what I'm doing. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And so now you go to Bartlett and you go to these new companies and everybody's using the CNC machines. The CNC's doing everything.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there's a lot of, I don't want to call it voodoo or mystique or anything that goes into this, but there's so many from the beginning of the barrel at the chamber all the way to the muzzle. There's a dozen places you can mess that up. Or, 3, 4 places, I should say. You can mess that up at any point. And so that's where you
Mhm.
start to see all the weirdness with barrels. And now why we all just do the Bartlands with the known people, and you don't see a lot of the craziness because even the prefits like we're using, Chris, when you and I use prefits with our terminuses and stuff,
Yeah,
they're machine spun, they're CNC spun. Like the proof is all electronic. So when you see like a proof barrel in their prefits, those are all done by machine, not by people. And so I think that's why we have such good luck with like proof prefits,
I tried to
and
draw a chamber, but it totally sucks. But
go
all
ahead.
right, so we shoot factory ammo. When you mentioned fouling, it was like, oh my God, I remembered this thing. And Andrew, don't let me forget to ask you a question in a minute. But when I was hand loading, one of the things that you do, you shoot it, the brass expands. You got to cut down the neck so that it's not too long, because if it's too long, it doesn't do stuff. So you shave it down. And I noticed, right, when you put it in, and this has brass in here in a chamber, but there's a little bit of space, right, so that it goes in and that it expands on the shot to seal it in. But when I was necking, or when I was shaving down the neck of the brass, I think that um, I'm going to draw it a little bit different here, but if the barrel kind of looks like this, where the brass fits straight in, if there's a gap because you cut the neck down too short, I'm just making shit up, but when I shaved it down to make it fit, if it was a little bit too short, there's a gap and shit has to go into that gap. And when I was hand loading, after I would process virgin brass from cutting the neck down, the barrels got filthy and they got carbon rings and they got all sorts of shit. But when I went to shooting factory ammo, I've never had any of that happen on any barrel. So I think that some barrel issues, I think, probably come from the way people hand load
Yeah.
and not doing the brass right and not doing the lengths right, because they're taking it into their own hands and they're judging it on speed and group, not on the effect it's having on the barrel. And I did definitely notice that if I ever had serious carbon issues, it was probably how I did my
Hand loads,
brass.
right. I was just gonna say the carbon rings, the big dramas, and this isn't working is usually the hand loaders, bad neck tensions, too short, things like that. And so you'll see the carbon rings exactly like Chris is saying. It's spilling back onto the neck of the brass. The powder is leaking down the neck. And that's telling you you're gonna have a carbon ring pretty soon, because they're leaking pretty much. And you'll see the brass is dirty at the neck.
Yeah, I think that I will be the first to say I'm not a good cook and I'm not a good hand loader, and I've made good hand loads, but in doing that I've had other issues with barrels, and using factory ammo it might not have the best SD, but I don't have those other issues.
Right.
And the problems with most factory ammo, if you get something that shoots good, it doesn't fucking matter, because the SDs of two that you need those for ELR. You need those for other things, but you don't need them inside of 900, which is really where we're shooting. So I don't worry about it. And good factory ammo. I've had bad factory ammo, don't get me wrong, like especially like AR ammo and 9 mil pistol, like the cheap stuff that random places are making, not good stuff. But that's another story. It just works with this. But I have another thing. If you have cold bore issues, it could just be your fundamentals and how you use your bag.
Yeah.
Because if a bag settles on the first shot and then you do four more, those four more are probably going to be in the same group. And the difference between the first and those four or those nine is just that settling of the bag or settling in your body. So there are a lot of reasons, and that's where you need to come to an instructor or get coaching somehow or send videos to somebody to analyze that because we can fix that, but you have to make sure that that's what it is and not something else. But as we triage stuff and try all these tests, it's not uncommon to find something that's pretty simple to fix that's not a gear issue. It's more of a fundamental issue.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you think about it, like Chris and I are pretty religious. So he does a little because of the dasher and stuff, but almost everything we shoot weekly is factory. We never have any drama. We never have these phantom somethings. We never get chamber pressure and start popping stuff. I mean, and we're out in 100 degrees out here and we have no shade, no trees, nothing up. Our stuff sits out all day and we're just going. And we never have any of these phantom issues that a lot of people will talk about because we mainly shoot factory. Now, we know where our limits are, and a lot of it with the testing and the work and the articles. If you go to the Hyde articles, the main page, and you look up Chris's articles there, he's put out so much data on this factory ammo versus this factory ammo. This number from the factory ammo at this distance, what does it mean? And, once we started knowing the limits, like that 1.2 to 1.5 second time of flight, once you know you're inside that 1 second and in, it's like everything works. You don't have to chase it, sweat it, get crazy with it. Now you start getting to your 1.2s to 1.5 time of flight, yeah, all bets are off. Things start to change. Your SDs are kicking in. All the winds and stuff are starting to get a little crazy. So that's where you'll see less than reliable results. But everything we've checked, it's inside, like he says, 900. Very little drama with any factory, even stuff with SDs of 30.
Yeah, if you guys have a ballistic calculator and you can look at time of flight, just look at where um a second time of flight is or point 0.9 seconds time of flight. That's probably the whatever that distance is for that round. There and in you don't the only thing that you need to worry about is your group size on paper at 100. It's going to be like that all the way to that 1 second time of flight. If you're shooting a subsonic, 1 second's not very far. If you're shooting something that's hot, 1 second's pretty far. Either way, it relates to that time of flight. So it's different for everybody, but if you're shooting inside that distance, group
And
at 100 is the determining factor.
And we're talking the 25 Creedmoor and the 134. And like I said, we know our numbers. We're right around 32 at 600, 3.2 mils at 600. So that's right at that 2850-ish zone. I'm gonna bet that if I bring out my 136 loads with my 6.5 Creed, they're gonna be nearly identical. Because that 136 is a butter zone at 2850. That Sacco ammo with the 136 is easily 2850, and I'm gonna bet. And this has always been. I get it. I understand power factor and diameters and sectional densities, things that to get numbers for people. Like, oh, I can't do this with NRL Hunter because I don't make my factors, But I'm gonna guess at the end of the day, the 136 load, which very few people shoot out of a 6.5 Creedmoor, is going to be nearly identical to the 134 25 Creed.
The
I mean the numbers are the numbers. How can it be so magical? I think it's just because of the diameter to do the power factor. It's now like a woo. But it's just I
mhm.
find it crazy that it's like, okay, we'll do the 153. Somebody's gonna do a 144. There's all the 140 loads and they all go like 2750 or less. And then everybody's like, "Oh, well, I'm not really happy." And they're floating them and trying to do all these things. And it's like, well, if you went 136 and just did it 2850, I bet you it does what everything you want it to do. And I'd have to do the math to see what power factor says. But in my mind, it's like, well, why would a 136 at 2800 be so different? 25 cal versus 26, and that's kind of what
Yeah,
what
just a
make
BC thing.
yeah,
I,
but
I I
but there
wonder what the BC differences between
but that's what I
those
mean.
and
If
bullets are, because if we're just talking 6.5 Creedmoor, man, I
I
am
can ask,
sold on
I'll ask. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the 136 CNR L bullet. Like, I think that's the best bullet ever made for the 6.5 Creedmoor. Some reason that thing is magical. If somebody was going to hand load for me, I would ask them to do that, or the 100 grain Hornady. That is pretty magical because of the speed, and that, whether it's got a good SD or not, it shoots good. The
I'm
tap
asking.
ammo is loaded better, but go ahead.
I was gonna say, just ask Grok what the BC is, the 134, and then I'll get the BC of the 136. Grok will tell me.
You got
He
to
tells
cross
me
your
everything.
finger to see if he does that. I do want to make an AI, like, ask a video where I
You
screen
know,
record and ask something questions, and kind of, because when I've done that for things I know about, I get mad and I start yelling at it. I'm like, "You're a fucking idiot. Don't do that. Don't do that." But
here we go. It's a 645 G1, and it's a G7 a 325. So 645 G1, and then I'm gonna ask him the 136 CNAR.
I think it would be a funny video to ask it and see what you thought you disagreed with. But it's,
Um,
people ask
what do you
AI
call it?
questions, and it's like, man,
MDT on their website has like a Chat GPT for gun stuff on MDT's website.
yeah, I just think that, it might not be so bad, but when I have tried it, because my kids and everybody talks about it, like, "Oh, do you use this?" And I was like, man, I
I talk to
like,
Grok all the time. Me and
I
Grok are
get
pals.
I get uncomfortable about, if I know about something and then I use it and it's wrong. I just assume that asking it about something I don't know about, the only thing that's going to happen is I might believe it, but it could be as wrong as that than the stuff I know about. I thought it would be pretty cool. But I do think the 25 Creedmoor
It's
makes a lot of
actually low. It's a
sense.
lot lower, which is weird. The 136 is saying a 545. I thought it was
Well,
higher
but
than
think
that.
about it. Think about it. Like, I know you mentioned sectional density, but a 6.5 barrel is this big,
Well, wait, but
and
it's
a 25 Creedmoor barrel is smaller
right.
area,
So
right? And
heavier should have a higher BC, and
well,
a 264 is a bigger bullet with a
wait, but
136.
you said the 25 Creedmoor has the higher BC, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay, but if something's flying at you, if it's got more surface area, it's going to have more friction, more air resistance, right?
Yeah,
So
potentially.
then, oh, for sure, right? Because
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
difference between an arrow and a two
Well,
by
but like
four.
we had said, they already make them long. No, the speed's the
Well,
same.
the
It's
length is the weight. The length is going to be what determines the weight. This is going to be a little bit shorter, maybe. To get that weight in something that's got a smaller diameter, it's going to be longer, but it's not getting as much friction from the air.
Yeah,
So,
but if you're taking a 136 and a 134, pushing them the same speed, which a 136 should
yeah.
go 2850 no problem. They're the same speed. The heavier bullet will have a better BC because it carries like a softball as far as
No, no,
that
but
goes.
the weight is close, but this one has less air resistance because it's a narrower diameter. So, it's a close enough weight, but the part of a
Yeah,
BC that's air resistance,
yeah,
this
because
one's
it's longer.
crushing its life. Yeah, because no, just because it's not as big around, so there's not as much surface area. slowing it down. It's like a
Yeah,
smaller
and
parachute.
Nathan's right. If I push a 136 higher, I could probably measure a higher number than the factory. The factory probably has a lower number to it because Lapua is a slow node anyway. So I would bet redoing the BC at 2850 or so would probably yield a different number than what they're advertising. They could be
Yeah.
advertising a low number because I mean I'm pretty sure this was a little higher than this, but it's saying it's a 545. I thought a 136 was in the sixes. So that's kind of where, so
It flies awesome. I mean, it's a great bullet, but
yeah, no, and I get it. The
they're
25
almost
is good.
equivalent. So a
Right.
smaller diameter is going to have less air resistance. So it's going to have a better BC from that factor. If if there was a huge weight difference, and I don't know why they aren't, I mean, if they made it 136 and 136, like that would be pretty cool to apples it. But I do think, it's a hundredth of a inch smaller. It's that much air resistance, which
Yeah, with
plays
the
out.
weight. I guess with the weight it does play out with the 134 being that close. It is running it higher. But yeah, in my mind it wouldn't be that. If I 136 and I'm going 2800 and they should be pretty close. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean but it's like, if you get a smaller parachute, you're gonna
go
go
found something.
faster.
Yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say you're gonna
And
fall faster.
yeah, so
Yeah.
so it's gonna slow down, less,
Yeah, I just
which
didn't
makes sense.
think
But
in my mind because I never looked before. I didn't think the BCs were point one apart. I just thought they were only going to be like a point two, point oh two is what I would have thought, and not a
yeah,
point one difference. That's huge. You know what I mean? And so I
yeah,
didn't
I
think
would have
they would
thought.
be. You know it's almost a full point higher on the 134 over the 136. So that would make
hmm
sense, but that's a
I wonder
huge.
if, like, how far out lands poke, because I wonder if you put a 25 Creedmoor in a 6.5 barrel, if it would still catch the lands and spin.
I mean,
I
it
don't
would work,
advocate
but
doing things
it
that
wouldn't be
shouldn't work,
accurate. But we can
but
get a number off of it. I mean, how many
versus a
times?
6 Creedmoor,
Yeah, how many
like,
times have we
because
shot a six Creed out of a Creed? I've done it a dozen times.
at we were at a match in Texas, and there was a skills guy, and he's every once in a while he's like, "Man, I never see anything or whatever," and we watch and we hear, and we looked at his ammo, and he had a 6.5, but some of the boxes that he bought were 6 Creedmoor, and it shoots him out. It just doesn't catch the land,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Does
so it spins, but the 25 Creedmoors is close enough where I wonder if it would touch the lands and you would see something weird. Like, I know that's sketch and people shouldn't do it, but you wouldn't
I
want
mean,
to do it
we
the
got
other way.
shitty. I can get an old barrel and stick it on an AI and just shoot it. We can.
Oh,
I
I
don't.
mean, I wouldn't mind doing it. I wouldn't mind doing the 25 Creedmoor and a 6.5 that I have, because I know, like, you could do a 6 out of it, and the only thing it doesn't do is spin the barrel. Like, you're not gonna blow yourself up, but like you would if you were doing it the other way around. But I wonder if it would catch the lands at all. Um, but if you put the wrong bullet cartridge in the wrong rifle, it's typically a disaster if it chambers. So
Yeah,
please don't
yeah.
do
Don't
the
do. I mean, like I
wrong
said,
thing, because you'll blow yourself up.
I've mistakenly shot six Creed out of a 6.5 because a lot of times, like at the time with Prime, there was in the old, like the ending days of Prime, he was sending me unmarked boxes to test the load. And so I grab an unmarked box thinking it was a 6.5 and it was a six Creed. And I was shooting like I shot like 5 rounds and I'm like, what's going on with this gun? And then I look and I got six Creed in it. I've done it more than once.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people, if you buy a lot of boxes and they're mixed up at a store and you just grab them, um, and that's not necessarily dangerous as much as the other way around. Like, but a 6.5 won't chamber in a 6, so, like, you're not
No,
going
you
to
got to
get
go
the
the other
bolt
way.
to close. Yeah,
Yeah.
but if it goes the other way, like in that case, but there are cartridges that'll chamber that have disastrous results. So you
I'm
definitely don't
just
want to do it.
amazed
But
at
I
that
wouldn't
BC
mind doing it
number.
myself.
I'm just amazed
I
by
wouldn't
that
mind doing
BC
it.
number. I didn't think it was going to be that different because we didn't look. We didn't do nothing. We didn't even chronograph it. If you think about it,
But
we
a
shot.
higher BC. Yeah, higher BC with an equivalent velocity, it's going to outperform hands down. And that is wind, and that is elevation and
Yeah.
distance, and it's everything except the 136 is pretty magical. It makes good groups. So then you're going to be like, well, compare the groups. And if we could get
I'm
somebody to load 25 Creedmoor hand loads that had super tight groups, it would be fun to compare.
Well, that's where you get Amar and Trace Ammo because
Trace ammo is really awesome.
he's the only one nimble. Trace Ammo is the only one nimble right now who will kind of drop of a dime make these bold changes and go that. And 25 so popular, it would make perfect sense for Amar to get into 25 Creedmoor of his loads in
Yeah.
that way. But yeah, I
And
mean,
that's what
like I
I
said,
shoot from the dasher is his. Like I don't
yeah,
hand load
yeah.
dasher, but I shoot his factory loads, and they have like SDs of like 4 or 5 or something. I think
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
remarkable.
And you know, I like I said, it was one of these things where we kind of went into it blind on purpose just to stumble through it. And that BC number really kind of blows me away that it's a full point more than the 136 because I look at the 136 as being best in class, and it being a full point behind a 134 is nuts.
I do think the 6.8, people have been talking about the 6.8. There's a couple of things. Like the 6.8 can go fast. In those new cases, you can get a 6.8
Yeah, cranking.
hauling ass. And as you get things to haul ass, you could see like if you put a 308 bullet in a Magnum cartridge, it hauls ass, and all of a sudden it's BC, and its aerodynamic capabilities are really, really awesome. It's just in a 308 short action, it's just going too slow. It's not in that sweet spot. But in a Magnum, it's in its sweet spot. The those hybrid cases that have the different parts, they do blow. Somebody mentioned
Yeah,
like, well, what's
I
going to happen when it blows?
I blew
We've
a hit
blown
up.
up, and
I got in trouble for it.
yeah, that's not
I
cool.
blew up Laura's gun with a two-part case. In a 223, I had a two-part 223 and like the fourth round popped. And at first I'm like, "Oh, it doesn't seem too bad." And then I went and got different ammo and didn't and then totally blew the gun up after that. But yeah, I popped a 223 and nuked a Seekins with a
Yeah.
two-piece
And
with a
I blew
two-piece
one up.
case.
Remember that day? And I was like pulling metal out of my cheek because
Yes,
little
yeah.
bits like they blow up, and that needs to be fixed because you don't want
Yeah, they
shit
do.
blowing up in your rifle. A good, well-built rifle, nothing's going to happen. It's going to blow out the magazine, and all the shit's going to go down there. But you
Yeah, I
still
got
don't
the
want that happening.
I was
Andrew,
asking
you
Bipod.
mentioned that you signed up. Andrew, you said in a few weeks ago, did we see if you signed up for Craft Wind? And then I looked and I didn't see it after the podcast. I said, Frank, do you remember when he said he signed up and did it pop up? But I don't remember following through with you. And I thought, well, shit, I'll just ask him on another podcast whether you signed up or not, or
Yeah, Andrew,
what it
you can
was.
answer him.
You can
The other
measure us. You can answer us like offline too if you want. But
Yeah, yeah.
I
The other
wanted
thing
to follow
too
up with that.
is K Hopkins is asking about bipods, what we think of bipods. And I like where MDT's going with some of this stuff. There's like one that I would rather see people with that than a Harris, but I don't know them off the top of my head. Their models now because they have so many new ones. There's like five, I think now, or four or five MDT bipods. But once you get up from the like a level up in the middle, from there, all their higher end bipods are excellent. Although, like I said, rather than a Magpul, rather than a Harris, although a Harris you can get away with a lot with a Harris for no money, but most of us don't have the right mounts anymore to make a Harris practical. But rather than those two, I would much rather see someone come to class with an MDT, even the bare bottom model, than like a Magpul one. But I'm an Atlas Cal guy. I love my Atlas Cals. I'm a huge fan of Atlas cows. I also run a lot of Thunder Beasts. And then for the ELR world, we're Elite Iron as well. I like an Elite Iron if you're going to do the ELR stuff. And then I like the aluminum Elite Iron. I have a steel and I have the aluminum. I like the aluminum a little better than the steel. And I don't do the swivel Elite Iron where it has the kind of the rivet in the middle and it pans a little bit. I don't do that one. But yeah, I think everything MDT is doing today is rock solid and is good. And speaking of it, remember Chris, I told you I saw people with like all the levels and timers like mounted across their scopes now.
Mm-hmm.
That's that guy I talked to this week who's the Rebel Scum Industry. He sells a Spur or an Area 419 and somebody else too. The platform, and his platform is, I don't know if you want to call it modular, but it's adaptable to turn it around and upside down. And but he has that double stack for the level and the timer. What is it? The SI and CI. So or something like that. Anyway, but he for MDT, speaking of MDT. So I met and talked with the guy through Jacob with the Rebel Scum Industries. So once I get back from these trips, I was going to follow up with him and talk to him about their products over at Rebel Scum.
Nice. Okay. This came up because of the bipod. So I just sketched something. If you get on the ground and do Frank's little posture thing, that's my little dude, right? If your bipod has your scope lower than that and you have to drop your body because your scope's here when the bipod is up, can that eye go through that scope without lowering your body? No. You have to lower your body. Lowering your body is a bad idea. What you want is bipod height that'll be whatever this height is for you. You want to lay down on the ground comfortably, and you'll know this is where it needs to be. And if you have a little bipod that keeps it low, you need to figure out what height brings it to there. That's the minimum. And then so with MDT and their big ones, some of that's just for field shooting kind of stuff. But if the difference between the appropriate height and the inappropriate height is coming from your bipod, you need a bipod that'll be high enough for you. So if you're a big dude, you probably want bipods that are bigger. And I know some of you are going to say, "Oh my gosh, if I'm a sniper, I need to be as low to the ground as possible." I'm not
Uh-oh.
even going to
Oh.
comment. If you want to shoot, yeah, if you want to shoot well, get a freaking bipod that fits your body so you don't have to do this unnatural stuff.
And that's
Every
why
person
oh,
that comes, yeah, that gets fixed by us, it's getting their rifle to a position that's
height.
physiologically optimal so that they don't have to do fucked up stuff to shoot it. Because if you're a sniper with a rifle that you have to cram your body down to shoot, you're going to be a terrible shooter and you're going to miss shit. And I don't think at a distance, keeping your head an inch lower, all of you reading this, that didn't save your life when you were downrange being shot at. And if it did, and you're one of those people, then maybe, I'm
Mm-hmm.
interested in talking to you
And
offline.
yeah, let's talk because they're asking too about the scope height stuff, and I added a riser. So talking about testing scope height, so
Oh,
I just
look,
put together the 6 arc.
riser,
I put a riser on a
riser.
1.5 area 419. So I have my Zico in a area 419, the new hotness from them. I put a riser on it. And because we're just so much more comfortable and we're so much more open. And then even the recoil pulse, I mean, explain some of that, even like with the
Yeah,
recoil we're seeing in the spotting, and bringing everything to us rather than trying to cram us into a smaller space is paying such dividends. So, yeah, you could
yeah.
talk to risers
So
behind you.
if you lay down and then scratch your body down. The front of you is going to be more tight, and you're going to have it's like if you lean on something and somebody yanks the thing that you're leaning on away, you're going to flinch into it. And so if you're scramming yourself down and there's recoil, you're going to inherently push into it, which is going to cause it to go down. If you're neutral, a neutral mass, and you are squared up with good natural point of aim, the recoil is going to come right into you straight. So it's not going to move up or down. And when we've brought people from excessively low to neutral, their groups tightened and their positional shooting matched prone and positional. And shit, we did it the other day with the guy that was out there and he was super low. And I was like, you know what? I know we're working wind, but I want to try something with you. Let's bring everything up a little bit. Oh gosh, that feels so weird. And his shooting was like, zoop, like, and it's like, yeah, because now your body is optimal. If your face is looking straight, you're going to see things. But if your face is looking down and you're scrunching down, it's going to be highly likely that you throw things off. It works good. The recoil impulse when we're up is keeping us on target, and we'll have trigger cam footage showing our best efforts with low rings and our best efforts with the riser so that we're not hamming it up. And you can see the difference. And everybody, 100%, it's a unanimous observation. You can see more, the recoil is straighter, and so your performance is better.
Yeah. Hang on, just yeah. So he's talking the Accutax too, and we there's a ton of bipods now and things like, and that's why I like the Atlas Cal, especially because I'll put extensions on my Atlas, and I like the way the Atlas legs marry to each other and they don't go inside. So like my Thunder Beast, I won't put my extensions on the Thunder Beast because I feel they're doing this. They're moving the wrong way sometimes. And the Thunder Beast extensions are inside. They're the inside part, where the Atlas Cal are the outside. And I really like how the Atlas Cal gives me that flexibility that I need. And even like the Super Cal, I like a Super Cal too. But Atlas is my favorite as far as that in the Cals. Yeah, I know, right? Everything is so expensive. He's asking about how do you manage when things cost so much? Everything's $300-400, and the nice thing is with the guns, we could build them up over time, and we know this is a little bit of a compromise, and this is what I can afford now, and then maybe move it. And where one of the things that's why I kind of like the risers. The risers are $20, so you get to repurpose your other rings and basically just throw a riser on your rail. And there's some decent risers out there. Even the Monstroms are not bad, and I know there's some others. But and then putting your scope up, and it's just taking your current setup and raising it without having to do a lot of rebuying of equipment for higher mounts or anything like that.
Okay. Now, the argument, one of you is thinking it, I know it, where you say, well, what? Well, I'll just lower my butt pad so that that distance is equivalent. I don't need high rings. If I if I push back here with your body here, what's going to happen? This is going to tilt up because you've got a lever. You could just grab something, hold it lower, push into it here and push here, it's going to come up.
Yeah.
If I have, because the mass of your rifle is here, right? And the mass of this rifle, even with the scope up, is still here. If I push here with you here, even though the eye and the connection is the same height, this comes straight back. It just works. You can prove it. Grab a stick or something, create a lever. It's going to tilt. This isn't going to tilt. If you do it, you'll see it and you'll go, oh shit, they were right. Of course we're right. We did it on all our rifles. That's what happens. So if you lower your butt pad, awesome. You're going to get muzzle rise.
And then the
If
height.
you get
It's the
a
height doesn't give us the canting either. So we don't over
no.
cant either. Cause so you can kind of go into that where it's less movement and you actually will see it sooner. And so you're not cheeking into the rifle because you're low trying to turn your head into the scope. So what happens is people have their scope mounted low and they're going to rotate their head into it. And when they do, they push against it. And so that pushes them to the right. Then they run their bolt. So first shot out of the gate, they check levels, they check everything. Now you're in the group. Well, you stop checking levels, you stop checking all these things. You're just going on with your system now. And each time you're pulling over and pushing, and that's what happens. And in class, we would see it a lot. And bipods are how you fix that cant. If you lock your bipods, you can't your rifle. End of story. But what we would see is people, and I talk about it a lot. Your first shot, everything you're doing your checks, everything's good. You're lined up, no drama. I shoot. Shot one is at 12 o'clock. Then you pulled and pushed the rifle over, and two is just over a little bit now. You shoot, and now you're over a little. Then you push again, and shot three is even bigger. So now you have one and then two touching with two and three. Well, now you see it. And what you do is you're going to cam back and you're going to fix your scope. And then shot four is going to go in hole one. And then shot five is going to go in hole two. And then what you're going to have is 2-2-1. And you'll have 2-1, 2-1, and one by itself. And what you're doing is you're slowly pushing the rifle over and you get 2-2-1.
Okay, the other argument that plays into this is if you have a high mount, you get more cant. Well, no. If you have a high mount and you go over 2 inches versus a mount that's half that height, you'll have the same angle, even if this is bigger, right? 1 inch, 2 inch, same angle. But you're probably not going to push it over 2 inches because you'll feel it. Because if you feel it with 1 inch, that's a facial
All
thing.
right. This is
So if
why
we
that,
say
real
one
quick,
inch
Chris,
cant, if you do 1 inches of cant with the long one, it's half the angle, which is
this is
less cant.
this is how the level grifters lie to you. The level grifters, everybody who sells a level tells you you have to have a level, right? And what they'll do is they'll give you a number big enough to see it. And then they're going to tell you, you're going to see it, you're going to see it, you're going to see it, where Chris's math is showing you those big numbers these guys are telling you why you have to buy these things aren't really happening to that degree. It's a lot smaller. Most like a vial level is only 0.8 between the lines of a degree. It's 8/10 of a degree in a lot of those vial levels. They're not very fine. They're kind of coarse. So every guy is giving you a 5-degree error and what you need to do to fix that in their math. Meanwhile, our levels, burying it is less than a degree. And
If
so,
we're selling something that we're like, oh, it makes you a better shooter, you know what we do? We say, do it your way first.
mhm.
Shoot when this firecracker goes off next to you. And then they'll be like, bang, shoot right now. And they're like, ah. And then when we have our stuff, we'll be like, take your time. No firework, just shoot. Everything will be great. And they're like, see, it
Mm,
works.
yeah, yeah. And he's asking about like the what do you call it? The rifle with the tripod. Do we notice more wobble with the
No,
mounts higher?
fuck
No,
no.
we don't mount.
Absolutely not.
We zero and do everything standing on the tripod. We never go prone anymore. I do all my groups, and if you watch my videos in the ones I just put up, we're shooting sub half minute groups at 100 yards off the tripod. We're doing everything on the tripod now. I mean, we barely. And the nice thing is we have those two Jake McDaniel benches, so we stand on the benches most of the time. Because for us, standing on the bench is prone without the the tripod. Even though we're standing up and shooting, I would say Chris and I go prone once a month, maybe. And we're
And we
usually,
only do it if we're filming and the rifle's there and we're talking
yeah,
and we have stuff laid out, and
yeah.
then we're like,
We
okay,
don't
but
shoot prone
otherwise, yeah.
anymore. We
But
never
I
shoot
have
prone.
trigger cam footage
Yeah.
from like a few weeks ago. Maybe if I text you, you could put it on there. You'll see the wobble. Let me see if I could find it and text it to Frank really quick. He can pull it up. Um, but you should talk. Well, I know it's in
Yeah.
here.
So no, I was just saying the SG Pulse. The SG Pulse is so cool because you can do a lot of things to adjust it. The Send It is good too. If you're gonna do a level, I prefer the electronic levels because they're sort of like levelable and all that. You have to manage like a vial level, uh, a flat line, anything that's mounted has to be managed. If I went downstairs and grabbed that Schmidt and Bender, I have like 3 levels mounted on it on a mount, and I could show you. Like the Seekins, is there? Oh, there is. I got a Seekins right here. So on a Seekins, right? It's got the level. Tell me who else does this. You can aim it. It's got adjustments, right? Seekins level mounted on your mount has adjustments on it to make sure when all this is put together right that it's straight because these things move. This thing moves. I have this one locked down, but I can move this. And you throw it in your bag and you do that. And if you have a level mounted around the tube, you could pull on that and bang it down. And, it's like, boom, I hit it. And now it's out of whack. Just a tiny, tiny bit. And what you're doing is you're like relying on it, but you knocked it off. So the vials need to be managed. Then, if you're an old guy like me, hard to see the vials. So the electronic levels, I think, are much better management, much better setups, much better everything, how you can mount them. Like an SG Pulse is bright. Stick it down the end of the friggin' handguard and look at it far away. David Tubb, when David Tubb was doing his levels are on his barrel by his brake because he's looking down there and he's not trying to influence it that way. And so there's a lot of stuff. So if your level does not aim, if your level does not have adjustments, how are you managing it? And I post the picture all the time of and I have it on my phone, but I don't know if I want to pull it up or not. But I post the picture all the time of an Amazon scope leveling kit that somebody bought and went on Sniper's Hide with after. They lined all the vials up on their pick rail on their rifle, and no two vials were in the same position. They weren't wildly off, but they were off enough to see it. And it's the wrappers, right? So the wrappers you bought, they 3D printed wrappers and sold a scope leveling kit and put vials in it, and they're not right. And so now it's like your world is off. And so it's like every one of them is different. So yeah, I played with levels, with the SG pulses and the Sendits and stuff like that. And why I don't rely on them is because I set the rifle up for me. I have my head up higher. I'm not rolled a little bit, compromising my levels in my head. So I'm not negatively influencing the rifle to camp. So, I mean, I know it's a thing. Everybody wants to buy a piece of gear and put it on and look Gucci and all that stuff. What is this one?
It's like a short thing. I think it was that shitty day where it was super windy, but I stayed and was like, I'm just gonna shoot and test the trigger cam. And
Let me see if
that's
I
uh I think that's what this is, but
I could play it. You want
it's
me to play it?
just if people are like, "Oh, what does it look like when you're shooting?" Like, I mean,
Here,
it's
here.
probably not impressive shooting, but you could see what wobble looks like through our scope when we're shooting from a tripod versus a You know, the tripod rocks back, so you end up higher than the
Um,
target a lot of times, but not that much, you know, and the shots are
it's
stable. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that anyway, that's what it looks like through my scope. So um
Yeah, and honestly, it doesn't move. You can see better, and like Chris has another product that's going to be coming, and it was so stupid. I could see the flakes hit the like you could see the paint flaking off the target because it doesn't move, standing on a tripod. When that comes out, it's going to be dumb. But yeah,
yeah.
because the
But
whole
it
setup
moves,
though.
but it doesn't move, but it moves, but you see everything, which
Yeah.
is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it really is cool. I mean, it works so well. I'm looking to see if we lost a whole bunch of people, like if YouTube decided to be like, "No, you shot a bullet." But no, we're good.
150 is pretty good.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
we're nice.
we're not over 200, but
No, no,
they
no,
didn't
no.
know we were going to show trigger cam stuff.
They didn't
Um,
know anything, but that's all right. So it's it is holidays, summer, everybody's out. Such a busy day. Like I said, tomorrow I'm leaving Nebraska. We got a nice little crew in Nebraska, but next week we are full in Fort Morgan. So we have a full crew coming out, like 12 people. So we'll have a full class if you want to come out Tuesday to Thursday, Fort Morgan. But yeah, so I'm
yeah, and if
going
you
to
want Wind Clinic this Saturday at Fort Morgan, Tuesday to Thursday, the class with Frank
mhm,
and Mark, and I'll
yeah.
be out there. I'm going to bring cameras too because we got to get footage of stuff. I want to try to just see what people start as and see what people end as. I want to get more a Mark on his scope thing because that thing is like, that's worth the class. And it's worth going to a Mark and Frank class just to watch them interact with each other because it's amazing.
Well,
Then
Mark,
the things that they
yeah.
do are fucking awesome. Yeah.
Mark being broken, he doesn't move as much as he used to, but he's still kind of like watching and pointing and doing all that. He's doing way better now and moving around. Luckily, the brain's all good. It's just his left hand doesn't work as well. He's been practicing shooting to get back in, and I keep telling him to just do the tripod like we're doing because he's not a tripod fan. And I gave him really right stuff up in Alaska, and it's like, Mark, don't shoot prone, shoot the tripod and just stand up behind the gun and just do it. So when he comes out, we'll have to get him on the tripod more because that wasn't his thing. And now I think it should be his thing, you know?
You could sit on a bench with a tripod, bring in like like a lawn chair and shoot lawn chair, tripod, or stand up. Uh, but even if he can't move around, what's awesome is that when he runs his mouth and you run your mouth, the class is
Yeah,
magic.
yeah, it
So
is. We have a good program. It flows. Maggots switched to high rings, made a huge difference for him. So
yes,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, maggot.
honestly, it seems counterintuitive. It's not. It seems like it's going to come with a host of problems. It doesn't. And then actually, if you think about it, you now get your hand underneath the scope bell. So if you wanted to come under and bring the rifle down into your bag, you're not doing the scope into the bag. You're doing the rifle into the bag if you want, because you can get underneath the scope because you got 2 inches now for your hand, and your hand can go there. And bigger scopes, bigger bells. Like if you got an 8x40, Zico, it's a big scope. Well, with it 3 inches high, now you have all that clearance underneath it. And the other thing, you're not pulling Mirage up. You're not. There's a lot of little things that are positives that.
Yeah. Oh, and using that riser, I put my laser under the scope and in front of, and so the profile for that, instead of having a diving board with a laser on it, I just put the laser on the rail in front of the scope. It was under the bell.
Oh,
Worked great.
that's the
Ended
other
up
thing.
lower.
Rebel Scum Industries for our mounts, Spur and Area 419. He has a rail called a side piece. Was a side chick, but it was taken or something. But it goes on the side of these mounts. We could put our laser. You can work the scope without taking the laser and it doesn't move. And the way he mounts it a little bit lower, but on the side, he says it totally works better to access the scope because nothing's in the way now, even like the diving board. You know, like when we're trying to tighten your screws, your diving board's in your way. Got to turn them, tighten them, and bring them back sometimes. And so he says this solves a bunch of problems with this side piece putting a laser. So I'm going to get one of those and I'll test it out, throw the Mars on it or something. I almost had deals on Raptors, but I kind of hemmed and hawed with the new car. I was like, I didn't want to spend the money and I
Yeah.
missed the window, but there was like some discounted Raptors, and and the dude was like, "Hey, do you want these?" And I'm like, "Well," and he's like, "What the fuck? Are you drunk?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just distracted and busy, and I can't talk to you right now." And then I'm like, "Okay, I think I'm good." And he's like, "No, they're all gone, dude. You waited."
Oh. Howard, yeah, if you have a messed up neck, don't worry about coming to class. We can accommodate you just fine.
Yeah,
I
we
have
don't.
bolts in my back. I have bolts in my neck. And plenty of guys have come with issues, and we show them how to shoot. And I bet you could shoot prone, but if you don't want to,
No, you
you'll
could do
shoot off of a
100%
tripod.
tripod. You could do 100% tripod if you're comfortable in your tripod, or we have purpose built benches. They're square, and you just stand up and shoot like you're on the hood of a car. But the front of the bench has movable rails. And what you do is you bring the rail in, put your bipod against it to lock it in, and then you tighten these rails down, and then you just go and you act from standing up, and then you shoot, you stand up. You shoot, you stand up. Howard, we have 80-plus-year-old men who have come to like classes and stuff. We don't prone people who can't go prone. We have
Yeah,
solutions for people who can't go prone. And like I was saying earlier, Chris and I almost never go prone unless we're shooting really far, and then we go prone. But the we have mechanisms for that. The tripod is one, and I did it in Iowa. So I had no idea. And I don't know why. Really right stuff is the best tripod, but the Leah photos, the two vets, I would go really right stuff. Two vets and then Leah photo proper. There's codes for Leah photo proper on Sniper's Hide. There's a discount code. But it's really right stuff. Two vets, Leah photo proper are your tripods. But
yeah,
anyway, I actually for 2 years ago for Christmas, I bought Laura a Fat Boy, and it's huge. And I use my Fat Boy here as a bench. I work on all my rifles with the Fat Boy. I just lock them in and then I work on them. Well, for some reason, we decided to bring the Fat Boy to Iowa in the class last month. And I had no idea. Mark didn't say that a student was supposed to come. He couldn't come. He sold his slot to a coworker and gave him an 18-inch scar to come to my class. The guy was 300 plus pounds. There was no way on the planet I am putting a 300 plus pound man prone. And so I put him on the tripod and I never said anything to him. I never said a negative. I set it up for him height wise. I locked in the scar. I didn't adjust him really because he's so big he's not gonna recoil and move. I didn't mess with his position. I just made sure his trigger was right. And I focused on trigger with him. I let the tripod do the work. That dude hit 1,000 yards in 3 rounds, smoked the entire field, and was shooting 1-inch groups at 100 yards with this thing all standing on a tripod because he physically wasn't going to be a guy I could put prone. And so we do these things and we do that what does he say? Oh, load the bipod. Yeah, we load the bipod. Always a load on the bipod. But yeah, so over the years we've learned to do this. The same thing with a hunting rifle. Up in Alaska, I've done more hunting rifles and hunters than anyone would believe. Well, hunting rifles, big calibers, magnums, really crappy scopes, slammed as low as possible. Nobody gets
Hmm.
prone. You can't go prone because your head has to roll to get to that eye relief, and the scope's too low. Why nobody with a hunting rifle practices their shooting because they can't. We put them on the bench, just like the old guys, just like the handicap guys. We stand them on the bench, and it gives them a better position with a hunting rifle with a low scope. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these little tippy tricky things that we do that accommodate people who have physical limitations when it comes to shooting. And we work that angle for a lot of people, you know? So it's not something we shy away from. It's not something we go, "Oh god, what are we going to do here?" We know what the answer is, and it's a no drama, let's go, you know?
Yeah.
So,
So much of it is just simply um, the resistance that people have to what they were taught and
yeah.
how different what we're saying is. Like, oh, I was told to do this. I was told. It's like, I know you were, but just try it this way. Yeah, but I was
Mhm.
told to do this. I don't want to do that. Like, well, then why are you here? Because we're going to tell you to do something different. Um, Howard, you said something like it would, it would keep you out of competitions. There are a lot of rifle competitions that say you have to shoot prone, you have to do this. There are others that say you just do whatever you want, like an NRL hunter. There are quite a few hunters that, for better or for worse, or whether it was a bad idea or not, I decided I'm doing this 100% from a tripod just to do it.
I
Um, yeah.
I want to so bad. I want to so bad go to one of their matches and just go to every prop and set my tripod up behind it and shoot and never use their prop and basically take my sling and just throw my sling over their prop, like have it attached on the front and just throw my sling on it and say my rifle's on it, my sling's on it, and
If
shoot.
something touches it, that
Yes,
counts.
right. And so I want to outgame the gamers in a way, but I want to go to a match and just to fuck every one of their rules, game it to the point where I'm never using their prop correctly and I'm always shooting off my tripod my way. So it's always set up to me. It's always like perfect. And then just do some technicality, even if I just tilt my bipod down on it. So take up my 45, my bipod, just so it touches. So set the tripod so it's like perfect and just touch it. Or, like I said, a sling or something. Even if I have to put a accessory. But I was thinking about that the other like last after talking to Jacob yesterday. I was thinking about that. I'm like, I want to game the fuck out of one of these things and just go with my tripod and never do their prop right and just go, where's it in the rule? Where's it in the rule? Show me the rule. I'm touching it. You know, if they have a spot that says you have to shoot it from here, okay, I'm shooting my barrel right over the top of your two marks. I'm going to touch my bipod right there, never touching anything else or my sling and be like, hey, man, that's the rule. And but I totally want to do that.
I could see Jacob just saying like, "There's no gear restrictions, but none of your gear can touch the ground or a prop," and be like, "Well, what's the options then?" Offhand, right? That's the only option is offhand. Like, but all gear is open and welcome. It just can't touch the ground or a prop. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
that would drive people crazy.
yeah, yeah.
I
There's so
want
I
to
mean, there's
do a
so many
hunter
ways.
match.
Yeah. Well, I Steve heard us. Steve from Guardian heard us, and I told him like I said, I got so blown up with everything, and I'm getting pulled in 6 directions. Laura's still yelling at me from the podcast last week where I told everybody to shut the fuck up. She's still mad at me over that, because
Oh,
I was like, "Ah!" You know, and she's like,
yeah.
"You're cranky." I'm like, "Dude, I'm getting pulled in, like, 6 directions." Um, and
If you want to do Guardian
yeah,
and we
and
film it and we do that, we should do it. But if
well, I
not,
said
like,
to him, "I
you know,
do wanna do it." And I said, and he saw that, and I said, I gotta get through this trip. I gotta get through this block of everything I'm doing that's back to back to I'm out of time. Like, I don't have any time or anything like that. But I gotta get through this trip. And I said, let me get past my trips. And
hmm
because my window is microscopic. We're literally tomorrow I'm leaving for Nebraska. Then I'm gonna have to come home on Sunday night. Tuesday we have class in Fort Morgan. Then on Friday, I was supposed to be in Iowa on Friday. I have to leave for Iowa on Friday. Then Friday, I'm going to be in Iowa at the race. I'm going to the Newton race there, Andrew. So I don't know how close to Newton you are, but we'll be in Newton for the race. I'm going to Iowa for the race. So I have to do Nebraska tomorrow, Fort Morgan on Tuesday, and then Iowa on Friday. So I have and everybody's blowing me up with like 6 different things, including people that have nothing to do with shooting, like my daughter who's been calling me 100 times. And so my brain is completely nuked. And I said to Laura, I'm like, man, I said, you don't understand, because she's yelling at me over like yelling at people. I said, "You don't understand. I text her, her notifications were turned off, so she never heard the echoes and all that." I said, "But 30 people just wrote echo, and nobody said what was echoing."
yeah,
And so
right,
I was like, "Shut the hell up. You're not helping." And even the funny part, I laughed after because I said, "Okay, is this better with something?" And the people only said, "Yes." And I'm like, I started laughing in the podcast
yeah,
because I said, "Guys, it's text. You have to type it out. I can't tell what you mean. Like, my question can go either way. Does this work or not? Yes." And it's like, and so that's when I laughed, or I said, "Look." So I said, I wasn't
yeah,
mad. I was just trying to get them to stop just saying echo because they weren't saying what was echoing or who was echoing. So yeah, it turned
right,
into
yeah, yeah.
it's
You asked, does this work or not? Yes. Does it?
yeah.
What, what, what's working or not working? Yes, guys. No, yes, yeah. And we were like, holy shit.
Yeah, yeah. And then I was not getting an answer and I was like, you people
Yeah,
are not helpful. And so that's why I probably lost like there's like 40 people who didn't come back after I said fuck off, you know. But we'll
yeah,
get
yeah. Yes, what? Yes, what? Yes, what?
yeah.
Yeah, Andrew G is 45
Um
minutes. But just look for the 6 foot tall chubby guy. That's who he is.
Andrew, I might be in the Des Moines downtown hotel. Um I don't remember how we bought these tickets. I don't know what I'm doing in Iowa. I know it's like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm staying, but we might be downtown Des Moines where our package is because we did stay downtown last year, I believe. But I'm so confused right now with so many different races. Like I'm gonna confuse the Kansas race with the Iowa race, and I'm thinking the hotel in Kansas and not the hotel in Iowa. But I'm 90% sure we'll be in Des Moines Friday, Saturday, Sunday, um, in one of the downtown hotels right there. I think that's where we're at. But yeah, it's just like it's just fluster, you know. It's just crazy fluster. But we're gonna call it. I got people texting me because they're like, "Are you still talking? Are you still talking? Are you still talking?" So we got a
Yeah.
good. Are you drawing stuff, or do you want to do one more thing and
No,
then
no, no.
we'll?
No,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
good. We can so
Yeah.
just to say it again, like go to High TV, get Craft Wind.
Yes.
Go if you want to come to Fort Morgan for the 1 day wind clinic, that's Saturday on the 26th. You want to come to the Mark and Frank class, that's in Fort Morgan, Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Is it three
We
days?
have room in Nebraska. I don't really have a lot of room in Fort Morgan, but if one person wanted to come, I wouldn't have a problem with that, especially cuz Chris can be there. But but the thing is Nebraska actually this weekend. If anybody's close to Nebraska, if you wanted to come to Nebraska, I can fit like 2 to 4 people in Nebraska because it's a good line there. And Nebraska is very similar to Fort Morgan. Good winds, excellent little terrain. It's like a cool little piece that we do at Jake's place. And so if somebody's free Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I know it's last minute, but there is space in Nebraska. We're only like 8 or 10 people in Nebraska, and we're like 12, and I don't want to go much over 12 in Fort Morgan. But I could do 14. So cool, man. Thanks everybody. Thanks Andrew. Thanks all the guys on there. Thanks everybody watching. About 170 people on there watching us. I appreciate all of you guys. The Hide.tv is where you can find our videos, find information. Check out Chris's articles over at the Hide. Download navigation, look at articles. He's posting really good stuff. A lot of the things we're talking about, Chris writes up. So when we don't always memorize the details were written down. Like I have no clue what the BC's on that shit. That surprised me. But yeah, there's really good articles, really good videos, really good all the way around. So thanks for sharing, thanks for watching, thanks for participating, everybody. Appreciate you all. And if you go to the Hide in the forum, you can go in one of those sections in the bear pits and start a Q&A or questions and be like, hey, during your live, do this, or answer this. But we're knocking it out. We're getting it done. There'll be about a 10-day gap for me, although we'll still be moving around doing this. But I'll be out of pocket for a couple days, and then we'll be back in full mode again because I'll be back for like 30 days. And so we'll work a lot. Cool. You good, Chris? What do you got?
I'm good. I got to make dinner and do some kid stuff, but yeah, let's do it.
All right, guys. Cheers.